The little gifts of life. When I first came to the US more than 6 years ago, I was a different person from the one some of you know today. On one hand, I was a hardworking consultant. I worked long hours. I had a work husband, a work wife. I had my best friend at work, Priya. She was an awesome person. She was also my life coach. On the other hand, though, I was arrogant and hot-headed, egotistical. I would sometimes not talk to people or interact with them if I felt they were not good enough for me. I remember my favorite cafe in Cincinnati, Ohio. I used to go there a lot. There would always be this musician playing the guitar at the corner of the cafe. I would listen to her. She was great. But I never wanted to go up to her and thank her for a gift of sharing because I felt like my paying the dues at the counter took care of that. I did not want to interact with them. I was also not happy with life. You see, I was living in Cincinnati in the Midwest while most of my peers were living in New York City, in Chicago, on the West Coast. They were driving through the beaches, having beautiful times at vineyards. I envied their images on Instagram. I wanted to be just like them. I wanted to know that my life was cool too. I was caught in a vicious cycle of comparison. It was driving me nuts. So I decided to do something about it. I decided to take a vacation to LA. I went with Priya. We went down to LA, rented out a car. It was a Ford Mustang. It was pretty sweet. We drove along the beaches. We had beautiful wine tasting at vineyards. It was an amazing, fun-filled, carefree couple of days. I got a lot of pictures. It was awesome. On our final day, we had one too many wine tastings. We were not sober when we decided to drive 40 miles to the beach. I remember sitting in the passenger seat, looking outside the window, seeing the beautiful countryside, and thinking to myself, gosh, we're going pretty fast. I looked across at Priya and at the speedometer, and I saw that it was 95 miles an hour. Before my mind could process what was happening, the car had gone to the side of the road, up the banks, and started to come crashing down, all in slow motion in my head. I remember the pungent smell of burning plastic in my nose, the pressure of the airbag against my chest as I tried to crawl outside the car among the pieces of shattered glass. I stood by the side of the car while the EMT came, the ambulance, and took Priya out of the car. She had to be hospitalized. Sadly, she passed away a few months later. This crushed me. You see, we both took the wrong decision to mix drinking and driving, but yet we had such different outcomes. That wasn't fair. It was not fair, and I could do nothing about it. The thought came to my mind, was life fair at all? What did this mean? What did life mean? I spent the next couple of months caught in a deep, agonizing pain, trying to make sense philosophically, spiritually, as to how I could come to terms with what had happened. One day when I was coming back from work, I was in the bus, sitting on my seat in the corner. This thought dawned upon me, a realization. When I was on my last day, on my deathbed, lying in bed, taking my last moments, the breaths of life, what would I truly want? I realized that for myself, that answer was knowing that my existence on this planet had an overall positive impact. It was simple. I realized that all I would want was knowing that I had an impact on someone's life and that maybe they could be here to share this moment with me. I realized that truly, if I thought about it, what really mattered to me was making sure that I lived life in such a way that I did not take things for granted. I realized that I had my limbs. I had eyes. I could see. I could hear. I could talk. Priya did not have those anymore. I had a family. I had a job. I had friends who cared for me despite my shortcomings. There were all of these little gifts of life that I had never taken a moment to stop and be grateful for. And this event had shown me that not just me, but all of us have gifts that we don't sometimes take enough time to pause, consider, and be thankful for. This led to a profound change in the way I looked at life. I began to take time to appreciate the people I loved. I began to treat everyone fairly, equally, just like I would treat my family. One day, I was back at that same cafe. I went in, I had my coffee. I saw the musician playing the music. It was beautiful. After she was done, I slowly walked up to her. And this time, I could say to her, "Thank you for sharing your gift."